Greetings and salutations. Today I'm going to kill a couple birds with one stone. Going to do a little bit of field testing with the Jeep. Make sure that that fan setup I got in there is going to work. I'm also going to see about doing a little pew-pewing, which I probably won't be able to show. I need to dig out some Freedom pellets here. And then we'll get on our happy little way. You care to join us? Well, come on, let's go. That should be enough for a couple minutes. All right, before we head out, let me show you what I've done here. So here's the fans. This one's the factory fan out of the earlier model trucks. This one actually I bought at the junkyard for the 93. And I removed the mechanical fan and replaced it with a unrelated electric fan. So each one of these fans is powered through a relay. Each has its own relay. The relays are armed with a common switch on a dash. They are independently fused for power, and I can turn the fans off or turn them on, like I mentioned, with the switch. But the fans are designed to run constant when the key is in the run position. This is a proof of concept. I want to see if this fan works. If it does, I may elect to do an aftermarket fan setup at a later date that's designed for this application. But I want to make sure that this is going to go out into the field and not overheat with the air conditioning running. So that's what me and the wife are going to do today. And it's been a minute since the wife and I went out and, did a little pew-pewing. So I think we might do that too. And we're going to go up to Carpenter Canyon, which is right inside our valley here, to a little spot. I know that they throw Freedom pellets into the mountain. So we'll do that, okay?
Okay.
Let's go. If there happens to be a catastrophic failure with that fan, the one that doesn't belong in the vehicle, I have brought the mechanical fan with me so I can swap that out in the field. It's good to have options, especially when you're testing something, because walking sucks. Well, that escalated quickly. Oh, the air conditioning on. We're maybe 2 or 3 miles off the main road. Yeah, we overheated. That's no good. We were running just maybe half a mile back. It started creeping up over 210. And it was sitting right there at, what was that? Probably 215 degrees, yeah? All right, 215 degrees, and all of a sudden, snap! It went all the way over to the red, and a little light came on, said check your gauges, and it went beep! So running with the air conditioning under 20, we're running between 20 and 25 miles an hour up this dirt road. It got too hot. So I think and the other thing I noticed too is that fan has got a couple of cracks in it. Not the blade itself, but the surround. And when it gets hot, it deforms and things start to rub. So that's probably not going to be a long-term solution anyway. But for as far as proof and concept, no bueno. The thing that sucks is that anything that's aftermarket specific for this application is going to be expensive because it's a Jeep. Just empty every pocket. That's what Jeep stands for. And I don't want to spend $300 on freaking fans, because $20 would buy a new fan shroud. Alright, I think that's enough before YouTube demonetizes this video. Boy, I love the smell of gunpowder in the morning. Sometimes people ask me what I see in the desert. What is it? What is it that appeals so much to me? Why do I love the desert so much? I don't know. We're stranded. Alright. Turn this ship around. Don't you know? So shiny. Not a lot of shiny here, Deb. Well, it didn't get hot. But it was a little bit unfair. In fact, I turned the air conditioning on just to make it a little more fair, but it didn't get hot. So I would imagine, you know, just the added force of running the air conditioning and running up about a 6% grade in less than 25 miles an hour in rough terrain probably has a lot to do with it. Not to mention that I think a better assessment of whether or not that electric fan is doing at least as much as the mechanical fan is to go back home, disconnect that one fan, take it out, put the mechanical fan back on,
Go do the same run.
and do the same run and see if it overheats, with the addition of the auxiliary fan running. And because all things being fair, as much as I'd like to get rid of the mechanical fan to reduce the unsprung weight on the front of the vehicle or on the front of the engine, there's something to be said about the engineering of a mechanical fan versus an electric fan. Those viscous clutches do take a certain amount of horsepower to operate, and this thing doesn't make a ton to begin with. And I just thought, well, maybe you could run electric fans, but let me go back home and see. I'll put the mechanical fan back on it. Debbie can go take care of her business, and I'll make that run again, and we'll see if anything changes. So I got the electric fan out. I'm trying to put this thing back in, and like I was saying just a second ago before I realized I didn't have the camera on, you got to be just a little bit of a contortionist to make this work. The engineers that design these vehicles figure out a way to be able to cram 10 gallons of shit into a 5-gallon bucket. And there's definitely not a lot of room for activities inside the engine compartment, which is probably a contributing factor to the overheating issue. You know, the thing that's nice about it now is that there's no fan shroud here to be in the way to impede my ability to see what I'm doing, and there's nothing. I mean, there's nothing in here to impede my my work here. Once the fan shroud goes back in, then there's even less room, and I can't see what I'm doing because there's a big chunk of black plastic in the way. But you know, running without the fan shroud is probably not really recommended, because that's what kind of creates, you know, the flow. Otherwise you're losing a certain percentage of your airflow around the fan, and it's drawing air into the fan from inside the engine bay instead of drawing it all through the radiator. So that's important to run fan shroud. Whether it's an electric or a mechanical fan. Come on. Come on, you can do it. Get on there. I find if you talk nice to things, it never works. But I feel better. Come on, you fucking shit. I also find that when you talk smack, things work about as well. Okay. Alright. Put the battery back in and run this test again. I want to make an observation. I just drove back out here with the temperature under 210 with the mechanical fan on, but the electric fan is off. I just turned the electric fan back on. With the air conditioning on most of the way here between 35 and 45 miles per hour, and it didn't get hot. Now I'm sitting here with the air conditioning on, idling with both fans on. It's at 210. I'm gonna shut it off because I want to talk to you for a minute. So I even make this video. I spent an entire episode on installing the fan, and I never even finished that night. And there's a couple of reasons why I decided to make this video the way it's evolving. First of all, obviously, I'm disappointed that it didn't pan out the way I would have hoped. The reason why I wanted to do this is because I've been noticing that when we're out doing these explorers out in really remote areas, the truck's running hot, and I'm the only one that can see that. I'm not concerning everybody else with it. They're just kind of enjoying the trip. But what's always in the back of my mind is, what's my contingency plan if something goes wrong? So one of the reasons why we haven't gone out to some of these really barren places, really off the beaten path, is because we don't go with a group. And if I break down, I don't want to put my family at risk, right? So the whole purpose of installing the electric fan was, A, I wanted to reduce the unsprung weight on the front of the engine. B, I wanted to improve the cooling capacity of the rig so that I wasn't running hot at low speeds, because I'm not pulling enough air through the radiator to keep the engine cool at trail speed. And before I go and spend a shit ton of money on an aftermarket system to try to keep this thing cool, I wanted to see if an actual automotive electric fan would at least perform as well as a mechanical fan. Turns out it didn't. This has been a topic that I've discussed with a couple of different people at length. One guy in particular, Martin Belt, his channel's link is in the description if you want to go check out his channel. Martin and I have had this conversation at length many times, because, you know, the prevailing wisdom of removing a mechanical fan and going to an electric fan is that it takes a certain amount of horsepower to drive a viscous fan clutch, and that parasitic drag is robbing horsepower. Well, Martin's argument is, well, you're placing an additional load on your charging system now by putting this electric fan in, and it's going to take a certain amount of horsepower to create the energy to drive the amperage to drive that electric fan. Is that parasitic draw the difference? Because there's going to be parasitic draw on both ends of that spectrum. Is the difference in the parasitic drop in horsepower justify the expense? And does it affect the long-term durability of the vehicle? My argument has always been that unless you're really modifying your vehicle, there's no reason to modify the cooling system. That's always been my argument. And the reason why I haven't done an electric fan upgrade earlier is because this has worked. And it's worked fine until it hasn't. What's changed with my setup over the last 2 years, what's changed is the original fan, the original electric fan that was on this fell apart. That fell apart back in November when I went up to the Mescal mine. Link up there. And the other thing that's changed is my fan shroud for the mechanical fan broke. So I'm going to run this test again with the air conditioning running. The mechanical fan is hooked back up, and I'm going to run it with the auxiliary electric fan that belongs on the 93. And I'm going to run that fan while I'm doing this test, and we're going to see if the thing overheats like it did before, and if it does, at what point. But before I start up the hill, I'm going to top off my antifreeze because I lost a little bit the last time it overheated. So let me take care of that, and we'll go back up the hill. All right, we're getting hot again. Oh, so I don't know if you caught that right there at the end. It held what, 225 degrees roughly, 225 degrees all the way up the hill, whereas, you know, about 2/3 of the way up the hill the first time with the electric fans it overheated. And you saw there, just doing it again, right at the end there, the temperature gauge went from 225 all the way up to overheat, and then the little, you know, went all the way up to there, and the check gauges light came on. The factory mechanical fan, at least compared to the you know, I don't even remember what year Ford Taurus that came out of, but probably 2000s, early 2000s Ford Taurus. Electric fan does not perform as well as the viscous clutch fan on the Jeep Cherokee. And this electric fan belongs on the 93, and the fan that was on here, like I mentioned, it completely came apart as a result of just being bashed around on the trails for 300,000 miles. The newer style fans with the curved blades, this has like straight blades, the ones with the curved blades in the late models, 97 and up, apparently are 40% more efficient. I'm going to go home and go on Amazon. I'm going to buy another one of those fans, a factory replacement, and I'm going to pick up a fan shroud, a replacement fan shroud for the mechanical fan. And then in the future, maybe in next week sometime, we'll run this test again and see if it performs any better. I'll have to check the temperature. What's the temperature today? Pick a day that's very similar. Hey Siri, what's the current temperature at my location?
Just a moment.
Just a moment.
It's 70 degrees right now.
Perfect. 70 degrees. So next week when those parts come in, I'll install them. I'll run this test again and see if anything changes, if the cooling system performs better yet. And then maybe I'll also conduct a test adding some water wetter and see if that helps. One other thing I'd like to test is putting risers on the hinges to see if that actually helps lower the coolant temperatures by evacuating some of the heat out of the engine compartment. The aftermarket actually sells these little 1-inch blocks that raise the hood an inch off the hinge, but I have aluminum at home. I can make my own, so I'll try that, and we'll run this test again using the spacers as a method of evacuating heat. And then ultimately what I'm going to do is cut some vents in the hood and allow some of that underhood heat to escape. We'll see how much of an improvement that makes. Of course, ultimately, I probably could have avoided this entire situation by turning the air conditioning off, but I felt, especially out here in this area of the country, running the air conditioning is pretty important. When you get up in elevation, it's not nearly as important, but if it's 110 degrees outside, you don't want to be running around without air conditioning, or at least having the option to turn it on is helpful. Now, if I turn around and head down this hill with the air conditioning on, the truck won't overheat. It's only when I'm running up a grade and under 25 miles an hour, placing a load on the engine and the transmission pumping its heat through the auxiliary cooler that's up there, and that's heat soaking the radiator as well. I do have an auxiliary oil cooler that's fan driven. I may put that somewhere towards the back of the Jeep. Might end up hooking that up. If I put it back there and run lines back there and back up, then you have the benefit of added oil capacity, whatever it might be. Might be a pint, but a pint's better than nothing. What do you think? Should I do that? Comment in the comment section. So if you like this video, smash that like button and share it with your vast social media network. That helps the channel immensely. That's the best thing that you can do for this channel, if you like what I do here. And if you haven't done so yet, I cordially invite you to click the subscribe button. And also, if you could, click the little bell icon right next to it. That way YouTube will notify you next time I upload a video. If you want to support this channel financially, there's a few ways you can do that. One is painless, and probably you're buying stuff on Amazon anyway. Just go through the links in the description, either buying the products that I'm featuring in these videos or going through those products to get whatever you do want. The channel earns a little bit of commission, and that goes directly back into the projects that I'm working on in this channel. If you want to throw a couple of bucks in the pot, you can click on the PayPal link. And if you want to support this channel with a monthly gift, you can click on the Patreon link. I encourage you to click on the Patreon link just to see what the different tier levels have to offer. Link in the description, probably in the end card too. So now I must bid you adieu. So until next time, you have fun, stay safe, shoot straight, keep your powder dry, and have a splendid day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.